I speak tonight in a quieter register, not to impress you, not to persuade, but to sit beside you as the day loosens its grip. There's something honest about evenings, about the way ambition finally exhales and the mind stops pretending it has answers. I have learned that strength is not announced. It is not announced. It does not clear its throat. It waits, it listens. It stays when noise leaves. Love, in the same way, does not arrive with fireworks. It shows up tomorrow and the next day unchanged, steady, and willing. Even when comfort feels distant and patience is language left, consistency is quiet. It does not demand witnesses. It does not ask to be understood immediately. It simply repeats itself with care. I have watched people confuse intensity with depth, volume with truth, speed with progress. But what lasts moves slower. It chooses restraint. It respects timing. In relationships, in work, and self-regard, the strongest signal is reliability. Being there when it is ordinary. Returning when there is nothing to win. Holding a line without hardening the heart. That is where trust grows, almost unnoticed. During long seasons of uncertainty, there was a time I believed love needed proof in public. That it should sparkle, persuade, and silence doubt with performance. Age corrected that misunderstanding. Love that needs applause is nervous. Love that survives is settled. It does not rush explanations. It does not compete. It allows silence to do some of the talking. Silence, when chosen, is not absence. It is confidence resting. It says, I know who I am and I do not need to chase belief. This understanding arrives slowly, through repetition, disappointment, forgiveness, and deliberate emotional economy. It stays longer than excitement and leaves fewer bruises. Mature love is not passive. It is deeply active, but the activity is internal. It is the discipline to respond instead of react, to remain present when old habits ask for escape, to choose clarity over winning. Presence is felt before it is explained. You sense it in how someone listens without correcting you, in how they remember what mattered yesterday, in how their mood does not hijack the room. This steadiness creates a soft gravity. You relax around it. You breathe differently. You trust your own nervous system again, without contracts, promises, or performances demanding immediate emotional returns tonight. I am careful with words now. Not because they are dangerous, but because they are powerful. Words shape expectations, and expectations shape disappointment. Consistency avoids unnecessary promises. It prefers actions that can be repeated without resentment. Showing up tired. Staying kind during misunderstanding. Telling the truth early, gently, and without theatrics. This is not emotional minimalism. It is respect. It says, I will not borrow from the future to impress you today. I will be here in ways that age well, quietly compounding trust. Over time, this approach feels safer than intensity ever did. For people seeking rest, not persuasion, there is relief in being predictable in the right ways. Not boring, but dependable. The kind of man who does not disappear when things grow complex. The kind who can sit with discomfort without outsourcing it. Predictability here is emotional honesty. You know where you stand? You know the temperature of the room. Nothing is hidden behind charm. For many, especially those who have lived long enough to be disappointed, this feels like oxygen. Calm consistency restores dignity. It invites love to stop bracing and start unfolding. Slowly, patiently, without forcing outcomes or demanding reassurance from moments that stay gentle. I do not offer this as instruction. I offer it as observation. Life has a way of sanding down excess. What remains is what mattered. Loud love exhausts itself. Quiet love endures. It does not need to be right. It needs to be real. Real shows up consistently, even when unseen. Even when misunderstood. Even when the reward is delayed. This is not romance for the impatient. It is connection for those who value steadiness over spectacle, and depth over acceleration, especially after years of learning what noise costs. The bill always arrives later, with interest, paid quietly by hearts. If you are listening tonight, perhaps you are not looking for advice. Perhaps you are looking for confirmation that calm is allowed. That wanting less drama does not mean wanting less love. It means wanting love that fits into your life without burning it down. Consistency honors your nervous system. It respects your history. It does not ask you to start over as someone else. It meets you where you are and stays. That staying is the message. No slogans. No urgency. Just presence returning again and again. This is how trust is rebuilt without speeches, during evenings for rest. I have come to respect the power of restraint. To say less but mean it more. To promise less but deliver it fully. Restraint is not withholding. It is precision. It protects what matters from erosion. In love, restraint keeps respect intact during conflict. It keeps words from becoming weapons. It allows repair without humiliation. This approach does not trend. It does not sell easily, but it builds something rare, emotional safety that survives stress, time, and the slow reveal of real character. For many adults, this is the true luxury. Earned slowly through consistent, respectful, human presence without performance. So tonight, as the noise fades and the world feels farther away, remember this gently. Love is not loud. It is consistent. It does not chase attention. It builds trust in the dark when no one is clapping. If someone stays steady with you, notice that. If you stay steady with yourself, honor that too. This is not small. It is foundational. In a restless world, consistency is a quiet form of courage, and love expressed this way has room to last. Enough room for patience, repair, dignity, and evenings like this, where nothing needs proving to be real anymore. As the evening deepens, there is a different kind of attention available. Not the sharp focus used to solve problems, but a softer awareness that notices patterns without rushing to fix them. This is where I've spent more time lately, watching how people move when they think no one is measuring them. Listening to what is said after the point has already been made. You begin to see that love, when it is real, does not compete for space. It occupies space naturally, without friction. It doesn't push, it settles. And in that settling, it reveals its quality over time. I used to believe that clarity came from explanation. From laying everything out, anticipating misunderstandings, and getting ahead of doubt. But clarity, I've learned, comes from alignment. When words and actions travel at the same speed, when promises do not outrun capacity, when silence does not contradict behavior, this alignment creates a sense of calm that others can feel without asking questions. It reduces the need for reassurance. It allows trust to form without constant maintenance. This is especially important for those who have already lived through enough confusion to value peace over novelty. Silence has been misunderstood. Many fear it because it reminds them of absence, neglect, or emotional withdrawal. But silence, when chosen consciously, is different. It is spacious. It gives room for reflection instead of reaction. In relationships, silence can be an act of respect. It says, I am not here to overwhelm you with my thoughts. I am here to hear what is actually happening. This kind of silence requires confidence. You must trust that your presence is sufficient even without constant commentary. That trust is felt, especially by those who are tired of noise disguised as connection. There is a rhythm to consistent love. It doesn't spike and crash. It hums. It maintains a baseline that you can rely on during uncertainty. This rhythm steadies emotions without flattening them. Joy still exists, but it is not frantic. Disappointment still happens, but it does not destabilize everything else. Over time, this rhythm retrains the body. You stop bracing for emotional whiplash. You stop scanning for hidden exits. You begin to relax into the relationship, whether with another person or with yourself. That relaxation is not complacency. It is earned safety. Mature love does not need to prove depth through intensity. Depth reveals itself through endurance. Through staying curious after familiarity sets in. Through kindness during disagreement. Through consistency when circumstances are inconvenient. This is where many connections fail, not because of betrayal, but because of fatigue. Loud love burns bright and asks for constant fuel. Quiet love paces itself. It understands limits. It respects seasons. It does not interpret boundaries as rejection. Instead, it sees them as the structure that allows something to last without resentment. I've noticed that people who crave loud love are often not shallow. They are anxious. They learn that attention equals safety and silence equals danger. This is not a flaw. It is a history. But histories can be updated. Consistent presence gently challenges that old equation. It shows that care does not disappear when the volume drops. That affection does not vanish when the spotlight moves. Over time, this recalibration allows the nervous system to rest. Love becomes less about proving worth and more about sharing space. That shift is subtle but life-changing. Self-worth is shaped quietly as well. It grows when you keep small promises to yourself. When you show up for your own routines without external validation. When you stop negotiating with your standards to avoid discomfort. This internal consistency mirrors the external kind. You become someone you can rely on. That reliability changes how you enter relationships. You are less desperate to be chosen and more discerning about alignment. You do not need to be chased. You need to be met. This posture is not defensive. It is grounded. It attracts steadiness instead of chaos. Presence is the common thread here. Not physical proximity, but emotional availability. Being present means you are not rehearsing your next move while someone else is speaking. It means you are not half leaving during moments of closeness. Presence requires restraint because the mind often wants to escape discomfort by planning or performing. Staying present is a form of courage. It signals respect. It says, I am here with you, even when this is not easy or flattering. Over time, presence builds an intimacy that does not depend on novelty. Timing matters more than we admit. Not everything needs to be said immediately. Not every feeling needs instant expression. Consistent love respects timing. It waits until words can land without damage. It understands that clarity delayed is sometimes kindness. This does not mean avoiding truth. It means delivering it in a way that preserves dignity. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget the specifics. Timing shapes that memory. Restraint protects the relationship from unnecessary fractures that come from urgency masquerading as honesty. I find that the older we get, the less patience we have for emotional confusion. We want to know where we stand. We want reliability without interrogation. This is not cynicism. It is discernment. Consistency answers questions before they are asked. It reduces emotional labor. It allows affection to feel restorative instead of draining. For many women who have spent decades holding things together, this kind of love feels like relief. It does not ask them to manage another person's volatility. It meets them with steadiness and respect. As this day winds down, consider the quiet signals in your life. The people who show up without spectacle. The moments that feel calm instead of thrilling. There is wisdom there. Love does not need to be loud to be powerful. It needs to be steady enough to trust. In that steadiness, something deeper than excitement emerges. A sense of being held without being owned. Seen without being scrutinized. Chosen without being chased. This is not dramatic. It is durable. And durability in the end is what carries us through the long evenings. When all that matters is what remains consistent when everything else fades. As night settles further, I think about the cost of being misunderstood. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet erosion that happens when effort goes unseen. Many people respond by explaining themselves louder, polishing their image, or retreating altogether. Consistency offers another option. It allows misunderstanding to pass without panic. It trusts time to reveal intent. When your actions remain stable, confusion loses its leverage. You stop chasing clarity from others and start providing it through behavior. This steadiness is not indifference. It is patience informed by self-respect and long memory, earned slowly through repetition and calm personal accountability. There is strength in letting patterns speak for you. Patterns cannot be faked for long. They expose intention without accusation. When you arrive on time repeatedly, you communicate respect. When you apologize without excuses, you communicate maturity. When your mood stays regulated, you communicate safety. None of this requires persuasion. It accumulates quietly. Over months, even years, people feel the difference before they articulate it. They relax their guard. They trust the ground. Consistent behavior becomes a language understood across temperaments and histories. This steadiness reassures without demanding emotional labor from anyone involved. Especially during uncertain seasons and transitions together, vulnerability is often mistaken for exposure. True vulnerability is selective. It shares truth without spectacle. It does not bleed in public to feel real. Instead, it chooses the right moments, the right people, the right pace. This discernment protects intimacy. It prevents connection from becoming currency. Consistent love understands this boundary. It does not demand constant access to your inner life. It welcomes what is offered and waits for what is not. Waiting, when respectful, deepens trust rather than eroding it. Over time, this patience signals confidence and emotional containment without creating pressure, urgency, or performative disclosure from either side. Many adults carry grief from relationships that ask too much, too fast. They learn to associate closeness with depletion. Consistency repairs that association slowly. It offers contact without extraction. It allows affection without obligation. You can step back without punishment. You can step forward without being consumed. This balance invites agency back into love. Choice replaces compulsion. When both people retain themselves, connection becomes additive rather than draining. Something you return to willingly, not something you recover from afterward. That shift restores dignity and makes endurance possible again during long seasons marked by stress, responsibility, and change together for both. Presence also means staying when outcomes are uncertain. Not hovering, not controlling, just remaining emotionally available. This is difficult for those accustomed to measuring value through results. Consistent love tolerates ambiguity. It does not withdraw affection to manage fear. It stays oriented toward truth even when truth is incomplete. This steadiness communicates faith in process. It says we do not need to rush resolution to remain connected. We can breathe here, together, without guarantees, without theatrics. Safety grows when patience replaces pressure and curiosity replaces control over time, especially during emotionally complex transitions that honor maturity and mutual respect deeply. There is a quiet confidence that comes from not needing to be chosen loudly. It rests in self-alignment. When your values, actions, and boundaries agree, you become less reactive. You stop auditioning. You stop explaining your worth. Consistency becomes self-directed before it is relational. You show up for your life in small, repeatable ways. This internal reliability steadies your external connections. People feel the coherence. It is subtle, but it changes how conversations land and conflicts resolve. Such coherence invites respect without demanding agreement or admiration from others who value calm strength and clarity over time. Naturally unfolding, I have learned that restraint is not a lack of feeling. It is mastery of response. It keeps love from becoming reactive theater. Restraint allows space between stimulus and reply. In that space, dignity survives. You choose words that do not need apologies later. You choose timing that honors both people. This is not suppression. It is stewardship. It protects what is tender from being trampled by urgency, pride, or fear. Over time, this care compounds into trust that feels unshakable because it has been tested quietly across many ordinary moments shared without spectacle or demand for recognition ever. Again, those who listen at night often carry responsibility with grace. They have learned endurance. What they seek now is not intensity, but accuracy. They want to be met as they are, not managed. Consistent love respects autonomy. It does not confuse caretaking with control. It stands beside rather than above. This posture feels adult. It allows attraction to coexist with respect. Desire becomes calmer, deeper, and more sustainable when it is not fueled by instability. This stability makes room for warmth without volatility or confusion, and supports long-term intimacy grounded in mutual presence over many shared seasons ahead together. Consistency also teaches us how to leave well when necessary. Not every connection is meant to continue. Ending with respect preserves self-worth. It avoids rewriting history into blame. When behavior has been steady, departure can be clean. There's less confusion, fewer loose ends. You can grieve without chaos. You can appreciate what was real without inflating what was not. This clarity is another gift of living in alignment. It allows memory to remain kind while honoring present reality without bitterness. Nostalgia traps or the need for justification later on. For either person involved, moving forward calmly again together. So as this reflection continues, I return to the simplest truth. Love is shown in patterns you can rest on. Not declarations that spike emotion, but behaviors that hold steady. If you are building something now, build it slowly. Let your actions do the explaining. Let silence carry weight. Let consistency speak after the noise fades. This is not dramatic advice. It is an invitation to choose durability tonight and again tomorrow. Durability honors lives already lived and futures still unfolding with patience, humility, and the quiet courage to remain consistent when nothing needs proving, fixing, or saving urgently anymore. There is a moment late at night when reflection becomes gentler. The mind stops arguing with itself and begins to notice what it already knows. In that space, patterns stand out more clearly. You see who stayed? You see who spoke loudly but disappeared when consistency was required. This realization is not bitter. It is clean. It sharpens discernment without hardening the heart. You begin to understand that love, the kind worth keeping, was never trying to impress you. It was trying to remain intact while everything else shifted around it, quietly, faithfully, without complaint. I think about how often people confuse mystery with depth. Mystery feels exciting because it activates curiosity and hope, but depth reveals itself through repetition, through the way someone handles the same challenge more than once, through how they respond when the novelty wears off and the work begins. Consistent love does not rely on mystery to hold attention. It relies on integrity. You know what to expect, and that expectation feels calming rather than dull. It frees energy for living instead of monitoring. This predictability becomes a form of kindness, especially for those who have spent years navigating emotional unpredictability. There is a humility required to love consistently. You must accept that not every effort will be recognized. That appreciation may arrive late or not at all. Loud love demands immediate feedback. Quiet love operates without guarantees. It trusts the long arc. This humility is not self-erasure. It is confidence that does not need constant confirmation. It allows you to invest without bargaining, to give without tallying. Over time, this posture builds a kind of inner wealth. You become less dependent on reaction and more grounded in intention. That grounding is felt by others even when they cannot name it. Emotional maturity shows itself in how you handle disappointment. Not whether you feel it, but how you carry it. Consistent love allows disappointment without withdrawal. It processes privately before responding publicly. It resists the urge to punish with silence or overwhelm with explanation. This restraint preserves connection while honoring boundaries. It says, I can feel hurt without making you unsafe. That capacity is rare. It signals strength without dominance. It creates a space where repair is possible because dignity has not been sacrificed for relief in the moment. I have noticed that people relax when they do not feel managed, when affection is not used as leverage, when kindness does not arrive with strings. Consistency removes the need for emotional negotiation. You are not guessing which version of someone will show up. You are not scanning tone for hidden messages. This steadiness allows intimacy to deepen naturally. It becomes easier to speak honestly when you trust the emotional climate will remain stable. Over time, this safety encourages truth, and truth strengthens connection more than charm ever could. There is also courage in remaining soft without becoming porous. Consistent love does not mean endless availability. It respects limits. It understands that boundaries protect affection from resentment. Saying no calmly is part of staying present long term. This balance between openness and structure allows love to mature. It becomes something you can sustain without self-betrayal. People who have learned this often move differently. They are less reactive, less defensive. Their calm is not passive. It is chosen, maintained, and quietly powerful. Presence, again, is the quiet currency. Being where you are fully, not scrolling mentally through alternatives. Not holding one foot out the door to manage vulnerability. Consistent presence communicates commitment without speeches. It shows up in attention, in memory, in follow-through. This kind of presence is increasingly rare and therefore deeply felt. It tells the other person, you are not an option while I wait for something better. You are the moment I am choosing now. That choice, repeated, becomes the foundation of trust. For many who listen to reflections like this, life has already been full. There have been careers, families, responsibilities, losses. What remains is a desire for something honest. Something that fits into an already established self rather than trying to reshape it. Consistent love meets that desire. It does not demand reinvention. It does not compete with history. It respects what has been built and offers companionship rather than conquest. This is love that walks alongside, matching pace, adjusting when needed, without insisting on being the center of gravity. I think about timing again. How certain connections arrive too early to be recognized. How others arrive after we have learned restraint. Consistency is often appreciated later when the nervous system knows what chaos costs. At that point, calm no longer feels boring. It feels luxurious. You recognize the value of someone who does not escalate, who does not disappear, who does not make you earn basic regard. This recognition is quiet. It does not announce itself. It simply settles into preference, guiding choices with a steady hand. Even solitude changes when you live this way. Being alone no longer feels like absence. It feels like alignment. You trust yourself because you have been consistent with your own needs and values. This self-trust radiates outward. You are less tempted by intensity that disrupts your equilibrium. You can enjoy connection without losing center. This balance allows love to enhance your life instead of destabilizing it. It becomes a place you visit, not a place you hide. So as this night deepens, hold this gently. Love that lasts is built the same way character is built. Through small decisions repeated with care. Through restraint when reaction would be easier. Through presence when distraction is tempting. Through honesty delivered with timing and respect. This is not a formula. It is a way of being, and when practiced, it creates something rare and enduring. A connection you do not have to recover from. A steadiness you can lean into at the end of the day, knowing nothing needs to be louder to be real. There is a particular kind of quiet that arrives after you stop trying to be understood by everyone. It is not isolation. It is relief. You begin to choose clarity over consensus, alignment over approval. In this space, love becomes simpler. Not easier, but cleaner. You stop over-explaining your needs. You trust that the right kind of presence will recognize them without persuasion. Consistent love thrives here. It does not need constant translation. It speaks through familiarity, through the comfort of being known without being scrutinized, through the ease of not having to justify your pace or your preferences anymore. I think often about how consistency builds intimacy without pressure. When someone knows you will return, they do not cling. When they trust your steadiness, they do not test it. Testing is exhausting for both sides. It erodes goodwill. Consistency removes the need for emotional checkpoints. You are not constantly proving care. You are living it. This allows affection to flow more freely, without fear of misinterpretation. Over time, this creates a bond that feels spacious rather than restrictive. You can breathe inside it. You can grow without threatening it. There is also a gentleness that emerges when you stop rushing outcomes. When you are no longer trying to arrive somewhere emotionally, you begin to notice where you already are. Consistent love honors this. It is not obsessed with milestones. It does not demand constant progress reports. It understands that growth is uneven, that some seasons are quiet, that presence itself is sometimes the achievement. This patience feels respectful, especially to those who have spent years performing competence. Here, you are allowed to be unfinished without being devalued. Self-worth deepens in these conditions. You no longer measure your value by how intensely someone reacts to you. You measure it by how peacefully you coexist. When your nervous system is calm around someone, that is information. When you feel seen without being pulled apart, that matters. Consistency reinforces this sense of worth because it does not fluctuate with mood or circumstance. It remains intact during disagreement. It does not punish vulnerability. Over time, this steadiness teaches you that you do not have to earn love through endurance. You are worthy through presence alone. There is an honesty that becomes possible when fear recedes. You can speak without dramatizing. You can listen without defending. Consistent love creates this environment by being predictable in the best ways. You know that honesty will not be used against you later. You know that silence will not be interpreted as abandonment. This trust allows communication to become more precise, less charged, more useful. Problems are addressed without becoming identity threats. Solutions emerge without someone needing to win. This is not because conflict disappears, but because it is held differently. I have noticed that people often mistake calm for lack of passion. But calm can hold immense depth. It just expresses it differently. Passion here is not explosive. It is sustained. It shows up in loyalty, in memory, in the effort to understand rather than override. This kind of passion lasts longer because it does not consume itself. It warms instead of burns. For those who have experienced volatility, this warmth feels safer. It allows desire to exist without fear. Attraction becomes grounded. Intimacy becomes restorative rather than destabilizing. Consistency also reframes commitment. Commitment is not about permanence promised too early. It is about reliability offered now. It is about doing what you said you would do today. About returning calls. About following through. About being emotionally available in the ways you agreed to be. This grounded approach respects autonomy. It does not trap. It invites. Over time, this invitation becomes something people choose repeatedly, not because they are afraid to lose it, but because it adds value to their lives. There is wisdom in recognizing when consistency must be mutual. Carrying steadiness alone becomes imbalance. Consistent love does not mean tolerating neglect. It means valuing reciprocity. You notice who meets you where you are, who adjusts when you adjust, who shows up without being chased. This discernment is not judgmental. It is practical. It honors your energy. It prevents burnout. It allows love to remain generous without becoming self-abandoning. Boundaries here are not walls. They are agreements with yourself about what you will sustain. As years accumulate, you begin to see how rare this is. How many connections are built on chemistry alone without infrastructure. Consistency is that infrastructure. It supports weight. It absorbs stress. It allows beauty to last. Without it, even the most exciting connection eventually collapses under its own intensity. With it, even simple moments gain meaning. Shared silence becomes intimate. Routine becomes grounding. Ordinary days become the place where love actually lives. If you are listening tonight, perhaps you are already tired of chasing sparks. Perhaps you are ready for something that does not ask you to stay alert. Consistent love allows rest. It does not keep you guessing. It does not punish you for needing quiet. It meets you where you are, again and again, without commentary. This repetition is not boring. It is reassuring. It says, you do not have to perform to be kept. You do not have to disappear to be desired. So let this settle. Love is not proven through intensity. It is revealed through continuity, through the willingness to remain steady when excitement fades and life becomes practical, through the choice to stay present without demanding return on investment. This kind of love may not announce itself loudly, but it changes how you move through the world. It calms your decisions. It steadies your heart. And over time, it becomes something you trust enough to lean on. Especially at the end of long days like this, when quiet feels earned and enough. There is a final kind of understanding that arrives when you stop searching for certainty and begin trusting consistency. It is not resignation. It is acceptance shaped by experience. You realize that life does not reward intensity the way it rewards endurance. What lasts is what can be repeated without resentment. Love, at this stage, becomes less about discovery and more about recognition. You recognize the feeling of safety. You recognize the absence of tension. You recognize how your body responds when something is aligned. These recognitions are quiet, but they are unmistakable. At night, when distractions soften, you can feel this difference clearly. Your thoughts slow. Your breathing evens out. You notice whether a connection settles you or agitates you. This is not judgment. It is information. Consistent love does not hijack your inner world. It integrates with it. It allows you to remain yourself without fragmentation. You do not need to compartmentalize or perform emotional gymnastics to maintain closeness. You can simply arrive as you are. That simplicity is not accidental. It is the result of repeated, respectful behavior over time. I think about how often people confuse excitement with aliveness. Excitement spikes and fades. Aliveness sustains. Consistent love contributes to aliveness by supporting your energy rather than draining it. You wake up steadier. You sleep more easily. Your attention returns to your own life instead of orbiting uncertainty. This stability does not dull ambition or curiosity. It grounds them. You can explore without losing center. You can build without burning out. Love becomes a foundation instead of a distraction. There is also a freedom in knowing that you do not have to manage perception. When your actions are consistent, reputation takes care of itself. You are not explaining absences. You are not repairing misunderstandings born from inconsistency. This frees emotional bandwidth. You can focus on what matters rather than maintaining narratives. In relationships, this translates into ease. You trust that the other person knows your character through experience, not promises. This trust removes pressure from communication. You speak when there is something true to say, not when silence feels threatening. Consistency teaches patience without passivity. You are not waiting for life to happen. You are participating steadily. This participation is humble. It accepts that progress is incremental. That love deepens through accumulation, not breakthroughs. Many people abandon something good because it does not feel dramatic enough. They mistake calm for stagnation. But calm is often the sign that something is working. It means energy is not being wasted on unnecessary friction. It means you can invest long-term without depletion. I have come to believe that mature love is less about finding the right person and more about becoming someone who can sustain connection. This does not mean self-improvement as performance. It means cultivating reliability, emotional regulation, honest boundaries, the ability to repair. These qualities make love livable. They create conditions where intimacy can grow without fear. When both people bring this steadiness, the relationship becomes a place of refuge rather than another arena for proving worth. There is dignity in this kind of love. It does not infantilize. It does not rescue. It respects autonomy. You are together because you choose to be, not because you are afraid to be alone. This choice is renewed quietly through daily behavior, through respect and disagreement, through care and absence, through remembering what matters to the other person without being reminded. These small acts accumulate into something profound. They say, you are safe here, and I am not leaving when things become ordinary. Ordinary is where life actually happens. Not in declarations, but in routines, in shared mornings, in evenings like this. Consistent love honors the ordinary. It does not try to escape it. It finds meaning there. Over time, ordinary moments become sacred because they are reliable. You trust they will return. This trust allows you to relax into them, to be present without bracing, to enjoy without anticipation of loss. This enjoyment is subtle, but it is deep. For those who have lived long enough to know the cost of chaos, this depth matters. You are no longer impressed by volatility. You are impressed by calm follow-through, by someone who does not change tone when stressed, by someone who keeps their word, by someone who can sit in silence without needing to fill it. These qualities signal emotional maturity. They invite partnership rather than dependency. They make love feel like an enhancement, not a risk. As this reflection comes to a close, I want to leave you with something simple. You do not need louder love. You need love that stays. Love that remains consistent when moods shift, when schedules change, when life becomes demanding. This love may not announce itself dramatically. It may feel almost too quiet at first, but over time, it reveals its strength. It supports you. It steadies you. It allows you to be fully human without fear of abandonment. If you are building this kind of love with someone else or with yourself, trust the process. Trust the repetition. Trust the calm. Nothing essential is missing because it feels peaceful. Peace is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of safety. And safety is what allows love to last beyond excitement, beyond novelty, beyond the need to prove anything at all. So tonight, let the noise fade completely. Let the day release you. Remember that love does not need to be loud to be real. It needs to be consistent enough to return tomorrow, unchanged in its care. That is the kind of love worth resting in. That is the kind of love that endures.